which leads us to Nitro. Number 157, which I neglected to write on the date, but it's September 14th, 1998. So the announcers are discussing the fallout from Fall Brawl. They outright promised, tonight we're going to get a reunion of the Four Horsemen, and there are rumors Ric Flair's here.
Yeah, they're trying to win a ratings war.
Well, I guess that's true.
One smart thing they actually did.
That's true. Thunderous We Want Flair chants here in this South Carolina building.
Greenville, South Carolina. This was a legendary show.
Oh, it was.
Although the only thing I remember is the Ric Flair stuff.
Yeah. So they go live to the airport where Mike Tenay is there. Tenay says, I just saw this limo pull away from this airplane. He attempted to interview the limousine. The limousine had nothing to say. So Mike Tenay goes dashing across the airport tarmac.
He would have been shot today.
To interview. I just like watching him run.
This was almost exactly 3 years before 9/11.
Yeah.
And it's another lifetime. This fucking guy is running out on the tarmac. Like the doors of the Learjet are open. This crazy guy is like shoving electronic shit into the airplane.
That's what happens.
And they're like, can you please move out of the way? We're about to take off right here.
Yeah. They had no comment about whether Ric Flair had been there and told him to get the fuck out of there. Had clips from Thunder.
Oh my God.
So awesome.
Oh yeah? So now what interview? You want to watch Thunder now?
No.
Say no, Vince.
I don't. But this 40-second clip I enjoyed. So Shivani is there to do a big interview. Of all the stars, how many guys do you see on the roster? 300?
It's got to be like 380.
They're about... Okay, 380. There's about 360.
Don't you remember his analogy from last week?
Who can do better promos than Scott and Steve Armstrong.
Yep.
Armstrong brothers 3 and 4. So the cat immediately interrupts, says he deserves this TV time to tell everyone how great he is. The Armstrongs protest, and Steve Armstrong says, quote, we never get interview time. Do you mind? I rewound it like 5 times just to make sure I got that right. Cat begins to leave. He returns and kicks their ass. Norman Smiley tries to make peace, but Geeks separate them. And then at Fall Brawl, the Cat and Norman had another pull-apart, which is exactly what Shivani called it.
Shad is so horrible. Just the fucking worst.
Well, do you know who's worse?
If you say Hammer.
Did you enjoy Van Hammer?
That was hideous.
Alex Wright had a terrible match with Van Hammer. Van Hammer, I don't know if he told anyone.
Actually, the best part of this, I'm looking at my notes now. Can we talk about the phantom flying knee? Okay. Where Alex Wright whips him into the corner and he's going to hit him with a flying knee on the way out, but Hammer doesn't come out.
Yes.
But Alex leaps anyway and does like a loop-de-loo in the air and then fucking beats his ass.
He did a ballet maneuver.
He runs to the corner, gets to the middle, stops, jumps straight up as high as he can, throws up one knee high in the air, lands on his feet, and then runs forward and does something. Poor Alex.
He should have curtsied.
I felt so bad for him. So even before that, Van Hammer has been on the flock for years now, and before that he was just a generic hair metal guy who, like, I think he carried a guitar but never played it, as I recall, in the early 90s WCW. Now he's a hippie.
Yeah.
He comes out in like tie-dye and peace signs.
John Lennon glasses
and the jeans. Peace signs everywhere. And apparently he never told anyone else he was going to do this because they're still playing the generic angry 90s metal song behind him.
Some shit.
He looked into the camera and compared himself to Jimi Hendrix.
This fucking match.
And again, it was the opener.
Yeah.
How many horrible matches have opened Nitro in the last month? Like every single solitary week we open with a terrible match.
Maybe no one told them that the opener is the second most important match in the show. Because it sets the tone.
Well, it set the tone for this fucking show, so they chose the right match.
By the way, it was during this match they announced Goldberg will defend the World Championship on this show against Sting.
Yeah.
Mandatory match.
24 hours ago,
Yep.
Sting was one of 9 men competing for a title shot. He failed.
Yep.
He did not come terribly close to victory.
Yep.
If you're going to rank the combatants, not only was he not first, he may have been like 6th or 7th.
Correct.
Stevie Ray was 9th. But yeah, now he just gets a title shot. Had a horrible fucking match. The Cat came out and killed Hammer for the DQ. And usually when they're doing this, because the whole gimmick is Cat hates wrestlers and wants to prove karate is best, So he kills Hammer, and he looks at Alex, and Alex starts to dance. I'm thinking, okay, spin kick's coming. And then Alex turns, and he walks away, and that's the end.
That's not the end.
Oh, there's more. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Miller cut this stupid promo about how he's the greatest. He's the baddest guy in the world. Nobody can beat him. Security guards come out, and they arrest Ernest the Cat Miller, WCW wrestler. They put him in handcuffs because he cut a promo. Mm-hmm. They drag him all the way backstage. The camera follows him the whole way. They put him in a cop car, and they drive him off. I hope this guy made millions from this company in that racial discrimination lawsuit, because this was the biggest load of horse shit I've ever seen in my life. How the fuck do you arrest a guy for cutting a promo and doing a run-in on Nitro?
On Nitro. All I know is they had a 3-hour show, and I think they intended this subduing the cat and taking him to the cop car. I think they had counted on at least 2.5 hours out of that. It took him forever. Mean Gene was late getting to the ring to call out Bret Hart for a promo.
A lot of stuff going on, he says.
So he calls out Bret. Bret's in street clothes, but he's also in shorts because he's Bret. Got his knee all wrapped up. And it's time for the babyface promo. He says, I have made a complete jackass of myself for a long time. Hulk Hogan's full of crap. Hogan and Stevie Ray, they tried to take me out, and I guess they succeeded because doctors say I won't wrestle again for a long time. Holds up his belt and says, I never won this U.S. title. I don't deserve it. So I'm going to be out for a while, but I'm going to be back, and I'm going to make Hogan's life a living hell.
You know what's funny about this babyface promo is I didn't buy a word he said. I actually think this was a legitimate attempt to turn him babyface, but they have done such a terrible job with Bret Hart. I just didn't buy a word of it. I thought it was just some bullshit angle.
So Roddy Piper comes out. Says Bret has been a jerk. He's been breaking his parents' hearts. But he's not the first man to get conned by Hulk Hogan. And Stu would be proud to see Bret speaking the truth right now.
Keeps talking about Stu in past tense like he's dead.
Was he?
No.
Oh.
He was alive and well. I was watching this promo going, what's going on here?
Well, maybe he just doesn't watch Nitro.
Or maybe just Roddy's so out of it, he just assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah, some guy on Twitter loved this promo, and I will admit, like, Roddy had great delivery, but what the fuck was he talking about?
I've seen many Roddy Piper promos less coherent than this.
That's true. Yeah. This was a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of being coherent.
He challenged Bret to prove what he was made of, and he left. And Bret mumbled something about not knowing where he'd go from here.
He just wanted one more chance.
Yeah.
Next up, there's a video package for the Saturn versus Raven match at Fall Brawl. They have clips. Tony Schiavone is going through everything that happened in the match. He finishes, and I sat there going, what the fuck happened in that match? I have no idea. You just recapped the whole thing. I have no idea what happened in that match. All I know is the flock has been freed.
Freed, you say?
That's it.
I was unaware that they wanted to be free.
Well, we don't know.
I thought they all chose.
We don't know.
I thought they all chose to follow Raven of their own free will.
Later on, and this is a really dumb thing too. Saturn's on the outs with Raven, and they were both feuding with Canyon. Correct?
Yeah.
So Canyon joins Raven, and now Saturn's on the outs, and now the whole flock is free, but Canyon decides to stay with Raven.
Yeah.
I feel like you just watched that video package again.
I
have no idea what's going on.
I have a headache that came up in the past 30 seconds. I was feeling fine. It's not really your fault. It's literally your fault. You wouldn't let it die.
It's hard to wrap your head around things when nothing makes sense.
Well, maybe you'll feel better when we talk about Saturn versus Kendall Windham.
I laughed because you guys were talking about this on Sunday. Kendall being a horrible, horrible wrestler, and he shows up on my screen a mere hours later.
Are you fucking kidding me that this happened?
No. Can you believe it?
How the wrestling gods are powerful, let me tell you all. We
live in a simulation.
We're not even watching, like, it's not every week ago on the old WCW shows now, NWA shows now. Mm-hmm. There were a couple weeks back. They're still in August. We just happened to watch Kendall Windham versus Gladiator #1 in 1987, 48 hours before we have to watch Kendall Windham versus Saturn in 1998.
He's gained some weight.
Yeah, let's talk about the positives. He's heavier.
He's thickened up.
looks
He's
exactly
definitely better than he was on that NWA show.
On the whole, if I'm being honest, he had improved in the decade plus.
Yep.
He looks exactly like his brother.
He looked like a bald Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the real issue with this match.
It went forever.
It went 10 minutes.
That is a problem.
You don't
So
say.
bad.
So let's talk about what this show opened with. It opened with Hammer versus Alex Wright. There's a fucking piece of paper backstage with matches on it. The first one says Hammer versus Alex Wright. The second one says Saturn versus Kendall Windham. And in parentheses, it says 10 minutes. What motherfucker put this show together?
So
They have 3 hours.
all I could think during this 10 minutes is this company is in a life and death wrestling war. And I am watching this clumsy oaf do slow motion arm wringers on Perry Saturn.
How about the big boot that missed by a mile?
Oh, yeah.
So
How about the blatant low blow in front of the referee that wasn't a DQ?
Kendall beats him up forever. It's better than 1987 Kendall, but it's so hideously dull. He does a back suplex with one foot on the middle rope and one on the bottom rope and falls at a funky angle and drops Saturn right on his shoulder. He's been on offense for seriously about 5 minutes straight. The thing about being on offense for 5 minutes straight is you can pace yourself. Not Kendall Windham. Kendall Windham got himself blown up by being on offense for 5 minutes straight. He goes to the middle rope for a diving elbow, only he can't jump because he's blown up, so he just falls down onto his arm. I think Saturn was making a comeback, but it was hard to tell because Kendall was so blown up he couldn't feed him for anything. Saturn picks up Kendall for a slam. Kendall's just dead weight in his arms. He slams him down. Saturn does his diving elbow. When you take a diving elbow, you kick your feet up and throw your arms up to sell the impact. Kendall Windham lied there like a dead man. Just down there.
And
he's on
then
fumes.
He kicked out of the flying elbow. What?
Saturn finally hit a DVD for the win. This is so much better than 1987 Kendall and still so dreadfully awful. I had forgotten. I always knew he was a poor, pale imitation of his brother. But I forgot just how truly awful he is. He may have surpassed Vladimir Pietrov as my most hated, worst wrestler who actually was a name.
Do you know that Kendall Windham right now, today, is 49?
So, no.
He's 49 years old.
He is 4 years younger than me.
So he was 30 in this match?
Or 4 years older than me.
30 in this match. He was 19 or 20 on those old NWA shows.
Wow.
It's mind-blowing.
Huh.
He's not even 50 today. We just watched a show he was on from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And Dave, in the report for this match, said he assured us that at one point Kendall was good.
When?
I got to find out. Because it wasn't 86, 87.
No.
It wasn't 96, 97. Or 98.
Maybe he literally meant once he was good as in it happened one time.
Could be.
So Saturn hits a DVD and wins. But there's more.
Sure is.
Raven appears in the stands with his new buddy Canyon. The flock all come down to the ring. And then it is verbal debate time.
Hold on. There was some good stuff here. Saturn is giving all of the flock a pep talk because Raven says this 24 hours is over, come back to me. Saturn's trying to tell the flock you don't have to come back to him, you're free, you can do whatever you want. He puts over Horace saying, Horace, we've worked out together, throw away the sign, get a pair of trunks,
Yes.
and be a star.
That may have been Buddy Wayne cutting this promo for him.
He says, Riggs, you were once a tag team champion. You've got to do it again. Sick boy, he claimed, you're
Quote.
the hottest young talent in wrestling today. Load of horse shit. And he's in the middle of putting everyone over, and then he stops, and he looks at Lodi, and he says, good luck, Lodi. Kidman,
Did happen.
you could be the Cruiserweight champion. I just loved it. Like, he put every one of them over, but even now, he cannot bring himself to put over Lodi.
Oh, God.
He told them all to leave. They're free.
So they all sort of... You ever been to a party that goes too long and everyone's kind of waiting for the first person to leave and everyone's kind of milling about and then they kind of all just slowly leave at the same time?
No, because I'm usually the first guy out of there.
That's true.
Brian does a lot of ghosting.
Yeah. So Anyway, everyone just kind of departed. Nothing was settled. Lodi looks very confused. Like, when you look back at the history of WCW, of all the stupid shit they did, I mean, there's more important stupid shit they did. I didn't know that anything was more stupid than the Flock angle. It sucks.
There was a lot of stuff way more stupid than the Flock angle. I'll tell you that right now.
Wrath versus Renegade.
There's one of them on this show.
Wrath versus Renegade. So, no, they never did
I'll
have...
just get it over with. Meltdown. Next.
Wrath pinned him. They never did do the Warrior-Renegade confrontation.
Thank God. Jiminy fucking Christmas.
Wrath is getting over, coming out and squashing dudes every week. Amazing how that works. Hogan and his cronies came out for a promo. Bischoff celebrates that he is there and Ric Flair is not. Hogan talks about Bret and Piper, calls them sissies 3 times in about 20 seconds. Said everyone had seen him beat everyone up in War Games, which I guess is true, only for Warrior to sneak up from behind and rob him of his title shot.
Hogan is such a gimmick. Smoke rises.
He challenges Warrior to Halloween Havoc in Las Vegas. The ring fills with smoke. When it clears away, the disciple has vanished, leaving Hulk Hogan to circle the ring screaming, "Where's the disciple?"
Where's the disciple? And Warrior!
You know who looks good in a pair of chaps?
I was not...
Disciple does not look that good in chaps, right? Get out.
No complaints about Miss Elizabeth in this segment at all.
Yeah.
She could have been there the entire show, would have been fine with me. Kidman versus Juventud Guerrera.
They announced that Kaz Hayashi was supposed to get a title shot, but he was hurt, and so Kidman randomly is getting a shot at the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went and had a fucking great match.
Yes, they did.
This was the best match on Nitro since I don't even know when. They had tons of near falls. The fans got super into it. They were going crazy for all of the near falls there. Kidman hit a short power bomb, hit the shooting star press, pinned the guy 1, 2, 3. Everybody's going crazy. Saturn's there giving a standing ovation to Kidman. The fans are jumping up and down. They're cheering. This was great television in the middle of this abysmal run of programming. Am I missing anything?
They made a thing out of Kidman in one segment.
I couldn't believe it.
It was impressive. And it helps that Kidman is really talented. That is a big help, of course. But yeah, this is a win all around. And if anything, you were underselling the crowd reaction.
Oh, they went nuts.
And for the near falls at the end, it was great.
Juventud was in
these
this match.
Goddamn people wanted was like good wrestling matches.
Good Hoovy was really, really good.
Yes.
He just was there 20% of the time. Mean Gene ambushes J.J. Dillon backstage.
Hoovy is way better now than he was in 95. In 95, 96, when they first showed up, he was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
He's much better now.
That's true. So Mean Gene ambushes J.J. Dillon backstage. He says, "Is Ric Flair here? And if so, I want an interview." J.J. says, "Tonight's going to be special. I'm not going to spoil it for you." And he sends him on his way.
He says, "I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to be surprised as well."
Yeah.
Flat out, they kept telling us Flair's here.
Yeah.
Without saying
they
Flair's
did.
here.
They did. Jackie Chan, yes, that Jackie Chan. He did a sit-down promo saying, "Hi, Larry," and he plugged his new movie, Rush Hour.
That was bizarre.
I'm sure they showed clips on the show, but they can't show them on the network.
Yeah.
They announced that Jackie Chan was going to say some words.
Yeah.
And usually, like, you just do a stock interview and everyone gets to play it. Jackie actually acknowledged Larry. It's crazy.
I bet he did 50 of these for every morning show in America.
I'm sure he did.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Dave. Hi, Will. Hi, Larry.
Maybe they only sent it out to people named Larry and he only did one.
If only we were making this movie in the 70s. One of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Oh, man. On the scale of stupidity with this angle, this was good.
Bischoff and Eddie Guerrero are having a confrontation backstage. Bischoff's so mad at him, he's going to book him on a tour of Japan.
Oh, no.
He says, "You don't want to be in WCW? Fine, you're going to New Japan Pro Wrestling."
The announcers sold this angle by talking about how great it was to wrestle in Japan on big shows for big money.
Well,
They did then say it was not good to be away from Nitro for too long.
Yeah, they said, it's great to be in Japan, but the longer you're over there, the worse it is. And out of sight, out of mind, said Larry. And, I know what he was trying to say, but to me, if you're out of sight, out of mind on Nitro, that's a positive.
That's also a good point.
This was like the story my grandmother told me when I was a child about Brer Rabbit and about please don't throw me in the briar patch.
Please don't send me to New Japan.
Yes, please don't send me to New Japan.
Every time I go on Splash Mountain from now on, that's what I'm thinking of.
Then Eddie told him what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And that was prophetic.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Oh, boy.
Barbarian versus British Bulldog.
All right, so the night before was the night where Davey Boy Smith fell on the trapdoor and hurt his back. So he came in here, and the idea was, work over my back. His back injury ended up being an infection, and then the infection almost killed him, and then he had a lot of issues as a result of this, and eventually he died. Mm-hmm. So this was I don't want to say this was the beginning of the end.
No, it's fair.
He had problems prior to this, but this was in a lot of ways the beginning of the end.
This injury led to his painkiller addiction, which led to all sorts of bad things. So he's just out there like nothing's wrong, taking bumps like normal, getting slammed into the post. Barbarian was working the back.
He was selling his back the whole time.
Yep. Barbarian had a big ending in this match.
Yeah, he did.
Which is a move I never remember seeing until Big E did it. Nothing's new in this sport. So finally, Bulldog punches Jimmy Hart, hits a terrible power slam for the win, and walks up the aisle, grabbing his back in agony. This was so sad.
I don't think he was selling.
No. And it's time for the big angle. Actually, no, it's not.
No.
JJ was in the ring, but he come back later. So JJ, something happened with Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell. I don't know, but they're booking a Steiner rematch at Halloween Havoc.
My son walked in the room, saw Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell. Steiner poses, and Cameron goes, "Man, that guy is buff." I said, "This is a Three Stooges routine right here."
So as they're leaving, the lights begin to flicker, and there is loud cackling playing throughout the arena. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I could not figure out what this was, and I was like, well, it ain't the Joker. Who the fuck? And I was thinking about it, and then I remembered Halloween Havoc is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. It's fucking Chucky.
It's a doll.
A goddamn doll. And if I recall correctly, the first day the doll shows up, it's over.
The doll showed up. I think it's at the pay-per-view, so we can talk about it. The doll shows up, cuts a promo on Rick Steiner, plugs his movie, and is never seen again.
Yeah. It was way more over than the gobbledygooker.
Well, that's true. That was worse. The usual cringeworthy Nitro party clips. So Jim Neidhart comes out. Then the NWO music plays, but the ring fills with smoke. As always, Bobby Heenan sells this smoke by coughing, even though they are 100 yards away.
I loved it because he starts coughing.
Yes.
And Tony Schiavone goes, "Bobby, quit coughing." And Bobby goes, "There's smoke."
I can't. There's smoke. To Bobby, this is the most obvious thing. So the smoke clears. Warrior is there with the comatose disciple.
Another stupid promo. He brought up the OWN revolution. He doesn't tell us what OWN stands for. It's the One Warrior Nation. Now he's making up shit in his head, and he's presuming we know what he's talking about.
They brought it up,
but he's not explaining it.
They brought it up 2 weeks ago.
The One Warrior Nation?
Yeah, it was written on the wall.
Oh my God.
All I know is the NWO comes out and surrounds the ring. They're all too scared to do anything. And Disciple's basically on his hands and knees, and Warrior straddles him and begins to cut a promo about how all these men are cowering in fear. It was very kinky. And then Warrior accepted Hogan's challenge.
Then they went into the ring together for the rest of the show.
They did. They went to Spoon. And that was that.
Excuse me? Funny you should mention that, though, in the next match. A double Steiner recliner.
Scott Steiner did a handicap squash against Silver King and Norman Smiley.
They should have that warning on this show.
Beat them up for a long time, stacked them up one on top of the other, put a double Steiner recliner on. It was also kinky.
It was preposterous. But you know what's funny? It never doesn't get over when you put two guys in one hold.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the hold is. If you put two guys in one hold, it gets over. Name a hold.
Sleeper.
Put two guys in the sleeper at the same time, it's going to get over.
Bear hug.
Put two guys in a bear hug at the same time, it's going to get over.
And it's a party.
Dude, we've seen, who was it that tried the double, it was like the double Boston crab. Didn't we see that?
I'm sure
we've
at
seen
some
this.
point I have.
It got over. It's stupid. Two guys in a move works. Remember that. Easy pop.
You may all update your Tinder profiles now. Oh, let's see. More clips from Thunder.
Oh my God, this was great. So, it was bizarre. Bischoff is doing this promo with Arn, and I actually skipped through the first part of this so I didn't see Arn choking him. And I'm watching it going, why is Bischoff just choking repeatedly on the air on Thunder? So I had to rewind it. So he got choked. But then Eric is trying to say benevolent. And the funny thing is he actually says it right once.
Yep.
And then he just can't say it again. Benevolent. And he rolls his eyes and he looks off screen. It's live television. He's just getting irritated with himself. And finally, he's so mad that he just goes, malevolent. God damn it, that's how you say it. I hate people that do that. Then challenges Arn to a left-handed arm wrestling match.
Yes.
Because Arn has a bad left arm.
He says, if you ever want to see Ric Flair wrestle in WCW again, you'll have to defeat me in a left-armed arm wrestling match. And Arn immediately accepted. Now they clarified, because this is very confusing, even by WCW standards. Ric Flair is free to come and go and appear on Nitro whenever he wants. But if he wants to wrestle in a match, his buddy Arn must defeat Eric in this arm wrestling match first. So those are the stakes.
Who wants to start? Let's talk about the greatest match of all time. This was better than Kidman and Hoovy.
Much.
Yes.
Much.
Shorter.
Giant versus Meng. And it was so bizarre because Giant's like a guy.
Sure.
He's like an NWO guy, and he's always in angles, and he's always in storylines. But tonight he was in a sumo match with Meng. And they go out there, and they just start fucking clubbering each other.
Yes.
Do you remember the Don Fry Takayama match in Pride?
Yeah,
This was two Takayamas, just one was really big.
basically.
That's fair.
And they were going at such a hard pace that the Giant, who was a smoker, mind you, did not always have the best cardio, he is fucking completely, absolutely blown up. Meng is not blown up.
No.
Meng keeps coming at this guy. Giant has this look on his face. He has his look on his face like a big guy who, for the first time in his life, is like in a fight.
Yes.
And he's like, shit.
I know that feeling.
This is fucking hard.
Damn it. So amazing. They were throwing haymakers left, right, going back and forth, trading. And all of a sudden, Meng kicks him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's radio, so it's bad, but Giant's face is way up here.
Yes.
It's way up here, and Meng is way the hell down here.
Yes.
He's super. Basically, they would clubber each other, and then they would stop, and they would clubber each other, and they would stop, and they would clubber each other, and then the greatest finish in the history of wrestling.
Yes.
This will never be topped.
No.
They're having nothing but a slobber knocker, and finally, Meng has him on the ropes.
He scores one kick.
He's got his number, and he does a kata, and you know the feared Tongan death grip is coming.
That's right.
And he thrusts towards the Giant's neck, but at the exact same time, the Giant grabs his neck for a choke slam. And because the Giant is 7 feet tall,
Yes.
and Meng is not, Meng's arms don't reach the Big Show's neck.
His arm is too short. And he tries.
My mind exploded. I was like, holy fuck.
It's a masterpiece.
The perfect counter. Be long. He can't get to your fucking neck.
Also put that in your Tinder profile.
Sure.
And then the Big Show hoists this guy up and he pins the guy after the choke slam. And Giant stumbling his way to the back. It was like the end of the main event of the Tokyo Dome. They just show the guy. He's like, wow. He's drenched in sweat. He just looks like he's been in the battle of a lifetime.
He was.
They show him go all the long ass way up the ramp. I was like, this was so fucking amazing.
And the best part about it was like 3.5 minutes.
If that. Probably less than that. The brawling they did, they would do these flurries of brawls. They'd each throw 24 shots, and they'd back up, and Meng would sell a little bit, and he'd fire up and be all Meng. And no one had ever, I don't want to say no-sold, but no one had ever failed to put over the Giants' offense before. And you can tell, I don't know if this is what their plan, or if Meng just thought of this on the spot, but Giant was getting frustrated and blown up.
And he knew there wasn't shit that he could do about
Nothing he
No.
could do about it.
it. What are you going to do to Meng? You're going to do what he wants. Mm-hmm. It was so awesome.
Finally,
It was like Brawl for All.
they did.
It was.
I actually thought of that for a long time.
Big Show looked like a guy in Brawl for All.
That thought crossed my mind when I realized it's been 2 minutes and he's dead. He's totally blown up in 2 minutes. So, you, Brian, on Twitter noted this was incredible. I replied that I watched this match and then rewound it and watched it from start to finish over again, which I did do. It was awesome. And then I looked up the gif of grizzly bears fighting in the Alaskan plains.
That's what it is.
And when I thought of it as a joke, and the more I watched it, I said, no, this is exactly what it was. Except these bears are the same size. 4.5 stars.
Easy.
Just awesome.
And then you were talking about Eddie Guerrero and Bischoff being the shittiest angle in the history of this company.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Incorrect.
That was not the shittiest angle involving Eric Bischoff on the show. Scott Hall comes out to do the survey, only he's supposed to act a little drunk. Well, he's supposed to act very drunk, but it's Scott Hall, so he's always a little drunk. Takes him like 5 minutes just to do the survey and then go to break. And I thought, well, that was no less or no more entertaining than the usual Scott Hall survey bullshit, but I thought that was it.
Oh, no.
But then they came back, and Hall was still out there. And it's drunk Scott Hall versus Lex Luger.
There's two things about this.
There's many things about this.
Number one, of all the fucking things to copy from Raw, the drunken Hawk angle.
Yeah.
Like one of these shitheads was watching Raw and thought, I got a great idea. Let's copy what they're doing with Hawk with Scott Hall. Both guys, by the way, having legitimate problems.
Yes.
So we're going to turn into a storyline on television. And then it's Luger versus Hall, where Hall is acting like he's so drunk he can't even work. And, like, I know this is the least of our problems, but why didn't Luger just destroy him and pin him and then do your stupid angle?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
This went on for 10 minutes, and I'm supposed to believe that Luger can't beat a drunken Scott Hall.
That's the message I got as well.
This was at the time where Scott Hall's wife was so concerned. She was writing letters to WCW telling them that this is an unsafe working environment and you're aiding Scott's non-sobriety or whatever.
You know shit?
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening here. 1 year after the Christmas show, I got absolutely sloshed, and then I had Whitney or whoever drive me to the dojo, and I rolled when I was drunk. I got my fucking ass handed to me like never before. And I'm watching this stupid match, and like they're doing moves, and I'm like, this is so stupid.
It's horrible. It's horrible. So after 10 minutes of garbage, Hall trips getting back into the ring. Lex grabs him, pushes him back to the corner, and screams, "What are you doing? Someone's going to get hurt out here."
Isn't that the point of a wrestling match?
It's a shoot, brother. So Bischoff comes out to try to talk to Hall. He's not getting anywhere. At this point, Hall's hated enemies, the Wolfpack, Kevin Nash and Conan, come out in their pajamas, by the way.
I wrote that exact same thing. What in the fuck were they wearing? They were in their pajamas.
They must have been ready for bed and had to get out of bed to come take care of Scott.
Nash is wearing like a silk,
A silk black
top
button-up shirt.
and silk boxers.
Yeah, and Conan's got the Wolfpack shirt and then just plaid boxers.
Like, what the fuck?
So No mention of the fact that Nash and Hall hate each other, and Nash and the Wolfpack hates the NWO. Everyone's just out there side by side.
Well, that's his brother, you see. He cares about him.
And everyone's just talking to each other, and Hall blows chunks on Eric.
Hall's screaming at Nash, "Where were you when my life was falling apart? You want to act like you guys don't drink." Vomits on Eric. Can you imagine they put this shit on TV?
This was terrible.
Can you imagine they put this on TV, bookmarked, or whatever you want to call it, bookended with the Ric Flair return?
That is astonishing.
Has there ever, this is a goddamn serious question for everybody listening, has there ever been a segment so bad, followed by a segment so good? I don't think there has.
It'd be very hard.
Because the Flair thing was one of the greatest segments ever, and the Hall thing was one of the worst segments ever. I can't imagine there being another show in history with two segments like this back to back.
So JJ comes out in his tuxedo. And the announcers ask, can this be the reformation of the Four Horsemen? Dylan calls down Arn, apologizing for having put Arn in some awkward situations in the past. Then Arn takes the mic. Says he had been dreaming about being a horseman. Then he became a horseman one day, and he spent years working every day to make sure he stayed in the horseman. And then one day, he had surgery, and when he woke up, as he put it, Arn Anderson, the wrestler, was dead. Crowd begins to demand Flair. Arn promises everyone will get what they want tonight, including Eric Bischoff. Brings out Mongo, Benoit, and Malenko, who are all wearing tuxedos and looking terribly uncomfortable. I don't think any one of them have ever put a tuxedo on before. Arn goes to them one by one, says, Benoit, there's no finer wrestler in the land. You will carry the horseman tradition through 2000 and beyond. Mongo, you're not always easy to be around, but you are all man, and you're an all pro. And someday I hope to make you as big a name in this sport as you were in pro football.
He didn't say that. He said, when all is said and done. Nothing to do with Arn. When all is said and done, Mongo, you will mean to wrestling what you meant to football. I was like, you killed every ounce of credibility you've ever earned in this business with that comment right there.
Says Dean Malenko, you have proven to me that you have the work ethic and the commitment to excellence that the horsemen require. Says everyone has demanded that he bring back the horsemen, but be careful what you wish for, because we don't wear white hats. We're not nice guys. And he's about to wrap things up, and he says, oh, I forgot something. I've had some shots to the head. I'm getting a little old. I forgot the fourth horseman. Everyone goes crazy.
He joked about his Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah.
He just shouts, Ric Flair, come on down here. And they played Flair's music. Now here in 2017, of course, Flair had a long hospital stay. I hope when he came out of the hospital, they played his music. It just should. So Flair comes out. He, of course, looks very comfortable in a tux. The eyes are already starting to they're wet. They shoot off pyro. He soak it in cheers. He hugs the horsemen one by one, saves the biggest hug of all for Arn. And they give him the mic, and they all step back. And for a minute or two here, he was Richard Fleer. He's crying. Arn's crying. He says, all the work I've ever put in entertaining you people, it's all been worth it. Thanks them for their cheers. And then like a switch goes off, and he's the Nature Boy. And he's screaming at Bischoff. So this is not TV, this is real life.
He cut a promo so crazy that his own mouth got busted open.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
I thought I was imagining things. So apparently in Columbia, South Carolina, I guess that's where they had done the passing the torch promo from Arn to Kurt Hennig a year or two ago. And Flair was crying and Sting was crying. And Eric called it great TV. And Flair goes off on Eric. This isn't great TV, this is real life. And then Bischoff told him to disband the Horsemen. And Flair had been weak, and he had done it. He owed the fans an apology. He owed the Horsemen an apology. At this point, Bischoff came out in jeans and a polo, because he had just been yacked on. Flair goes crazy. Overbearing asshole, he calls him. Abuse of power. You! Abuse of power. You suck. I hate your guts. You're a liar. You're a cheat. You're a scam. You are a no good son of a bitch. Fire me. I'm already fired. Fire me. I'm already fired. And they go to break. This is the best.
Tony said it was the greatest moment in the history of this television
Tony
show,
was also crying.
This was awesome.
You
What
know,
the hell can you say about this? One of Flair's greatest promos ever.
It was the Carolinas welcoming back Ric Flair.
Yeah, and they all knew. This was the Carolinas. Everybody knew everything had been going on with Flair and Bischoff, the lawsuits and all that other bullshit. Came back here on the show. They gave them everything they wanted. It was perfect. In the midst of all this bullshit, they could still do something right. That's a lesson to take away from this show.
That's true.
And the bad thing is, when this is all said and done, spoiler alert, he gets to come back, and then he has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Well,
The other thing is,
Not a real one. In the ring.
yeah. This is the third worked shoot angle on the show.
yeah, and it was the best one.
Well, it was the best one.
Finally, they got one
If there
right.
was going to be one, it should have been this one.
Yes.
But Eddie Guerrero and Scott Hall and Ric Flair are basically all doing the same thing. So yes, they come back. Tony's weeping, calls it the best thing ever. DDP comes out to join the announce desk. He showed stills from War Games, which page 1. He congratulates Flair on his return, says he's here to do commentary for the Sting Goldberg Championship match.
He should be upset because Sting's getting his title match.
Well, no, he'll get one. He's biding his time.
He'll face whoever is champion at some point.
No, he's got to face Goldberg.
He must face
Oh,
Goldberg.
you're right. I forgot it was mandatory.
That was a mandatory
been.
championship
Exactly.
match.
You're right, Greg.
No. It was a mandatory championship match. So if
Sting won the championship, he couldn't face him because he's not Goldberg.
no, Buffer said it was that you. Do I have to go back to it? He didn't mention Goldberg.
What did we just talk about? Like
He didn't
40
mention
minutes ago?
Goldberg. I wrote down exactly what he said. Must I go all the way back here?
No. Let's continue.
He said
Getting late.
the mandatory contender for the WCW title. He didn't mention Goldberg.
Okay.
Don't look at me. Yell at Michael Buffer.
Must always be right.
No, I must be accurate.
No, you must be right
Well, I am right, but I'm also being accurate.
in this case.
Anyway,
We good?
I think
No,
so.
I'm still mad. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Sting versus Goldberg. No one sat down for this match. This
Why would
was
you?
the hottest star in wrestling against WCW's franchise. I kind of couldn't believe. I still can't believe. This is on Nitro with no build. This is not a pay-per-view main event. Goldberg and Sting. It was just randomly done for no reason. So much like Raw, it was a veteran pro wrestler against a very green man, but they were very different matches.
Oh, yeah.
Sting was so incredibly unselfish here.
It's true.
He did everything he could to make Goldberg look like an unstoppable monster. Sold everything. Hardly ever got any offense. When he did hit a move, Goldberg would pop back up to his feet and Sting would bail in frustration.
You're right, Vinny, but what was the finish?
They go to the finish. Sting finally gets a flurry of offense, a bunch of stinger splashes. Goldberg misses a spear. Sting goes to the Scorpion, and here things did fall apart. That's true.
Boy, did they ever. Sting did a one-man Scorpion, which is not as popular as a two-man Scorpion.
But maybe more difficult.
It was with this guy.
Sting also busted out a tombstone pile driver.
He did. He dropped him on his head with a tombstone. So Sting goes for the Scorpion, and Goldberg is in it, and he's refusing to quit. But the story is, he's trapped. He cannot get out. Mm-hmm. He cannot reach to the left and just grab the goddamn ropes. He's absolutely, there's no hope for the man.
It was like 14 and a half inches away from him.
Hogan comes down to the ring and jumps inside and boots Sting in the head. Somehow the referee does not see Hulk Hogan getting in the ring and kicking Sting in the head.
He's very sneaky.
It's very sneaky. He used a teleporter.
Knocks the guy down, and then Goldberg hits the spear and the jackhammer and gets the pin. Now, I do not remember this. And I don't know why, because like you could hear the wind go out of the sails of the crowd when the end of the match was Goldberg. Goldberg had been beaten by Sting, and he was saved by Hulk Hogan. Had Hulk Hogan not been there, Sting would be the world champion right now. That's the story they told here. And I felt like it totally took the edge off Goldberg. I thought it hurt his aura. I thought the crowd, like from that point forward, the crowd was so hot for this match. And after they did that thing with Hogan, like they were quiet and they never came back. I was shocked.
Well, it's WCW. There's a reason they're dead.
This was the first time they really dropped the ball on Goldberg.
So, who should make the save Not anyone in Sting's buddies in the Wolfpack, but Bret Hart
On one leg.
limps down, chases Hogan away with his one leg. Hart tells Goldberg what happened. The two of them tend to Sting, and that's it. Hey, this is still a pretty good show, too, on the whole.
Yeah.
This was a hit and miss show.
That's fair.
I would go as far as to say that. But so what is it? September?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so he's losing the title in December, right?
3 months.
Okay. So when's the whole thing with Bret Hart happen in Canada?
Oh, that's much later, I think.
Is it?
I don't think Goldberg was champion when that happened.
Because I thought that he'd gotten a visual pinfall on Goldberg before the streak had ended. Am I wrong about that? I do feel like it was the next summer.
I don't remember it, but you were the book, so I'm not going to argue with you.
I'll have to look in this thing and find out. But anyway, this was the first time they fucked up Goldberg. I guess we'll see if it affects him next week, but I was shocked and sickened by that visual submission we saw right there. All right, everybody, that's the show. We went a long time. We got 30 seconds to wrap it up. Any final words?
Good night.
Bye.